Number 10. CLAYFACE. CLAYFACE is one of Batman's classic villains, with the power to morph his clay body into any shape, becoming anyone or anything. His real name is Baz Karlo, and he received his powers from Penguin in exchange for becoming one of his henchmen. He wanted to become a successful actor, and his new clay powers helped with that, the clay evolving inside of him and eventually giving him the ability to copy the DNA of anyone he touches and files it away in his memory, to be retrieved at any time. A lot of folks remember him for turning his fists into giant hammers like Marvel's Sandman, but it's actually this penchant for shapeshifting that makes CLAYFACE such a formidable foe. He was once a member of the secret society of supervillains and sought to increase his powers by absorbing Wonder Woman, as she is also constructed from clay. He actually sort of succeeds in this, partially absorbing some of Wonder Woman and becoming a more powerful CLAYFACE, but it could never last. It all comes to an end with CLAYFACE being spun around in a giant makeshift centrifuge to separate out the clay before getting slammed into the ground. It's totally awesome.
Number 9. Solomon Grundy. Solomon Grundy is also often known as Cyrus Gold. It is believed that him being killed and dumped in a swamp is what transformed him into the zombie-like monster that he is today. While there are many heroic monster characters within DC Comics, Solomon is not one of them. His creation as a character and villain was inspired by the Solomon Grundy nursery rhyme, which goes, Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, christened on a Tuesday, married on Wednesday, took ill on Thursday, grew worse on Friday, died on Saturday, buried on Sunday. That was the end of Solomon Grundy. One version of Solomon Grundy sees him actually become inspired to take up the name himself after hearing the nursery rhyme and noting a similarity between its protagonist and himself. Here he does not remember his true identity, only that he was born on a Monday. This is the Earth 2 version who has that backstory, just FYI.
Number 8. Man-Bat. Love him or hate him, seeing Man-Bat definitely leaves an impression, especially some of his more hairy, sweaty, modern interpretations. Kirk Langstrom invented the infamous Man-Bat serum, which turns the user into a hideous bat monster. Originally created to help the deaf and blind, Langstrom's serum has been used by vigilantes and criminals alike. The unfortunate side effect of making the user nearly feral has always been an issue with the serum, and Dr. Langstrom has at times been both an ally and enemy to Batman. During the Arkham War, Man-Bat used his serum to create more monsters like himself, joining the Arkhamites under the leadership of Scarecrow, although they later lose the war to Bane and his forces. He is addicted to using his Man-Bat serum, and between battling his maniacal wife and acting like a feral monster, he's got it pretty rough.
Okay, at number 7, Feral Man of Steel. This isn't really a version of Superman that is fundamentally changed into a monster. He's still a man, and he's still Superman, except he's been raised by a pack of wolves in the jungle. In Superman Annual number 6, a DC Comics Elseworld special tells the story of Kal-El, it's spelled K-L-L this time, a version of Kal-El where his ship actually crashes deep in the Indian jungle. There he's adopted by Mirar. It's just M, R, and R. Basically she's a she-wolf and she raises Superman as one of her own. But of course this leaves this version of Superman as a silent type. A wolf man who is on the verge of being entirely feral. However, deep down, the good values of the Superman we all know are demonstrated when he actually spares the life of an adventurer who kills his wolf mother and one of her cubs. Basically, feral Superman is integrated into human civilization and given the name of Clark, continuing on as a version of Superman closer to the one we're used to.
Number 6. The SHEEDA. The SHEEDA live on Earth 1 billion years in the future. They are either genetically engineered or evolved descendants of humanity or some other race that comes after humans. They possess crests that give them access to animalistic powers. They realized that they were the last race that would ever live on Earth and resolved to focus on their own survival. However, a time machine arrives in their time one day and they reverse engineer it, returning to Neanderthal times and raiding the Earth. They end up reorganizing their whole civilization to take advantage of these regular harvesting operations using the time machine. They appear in 7 Soldiers of Victory from 2005, and it's a nice bit of mind-bending time-traveling action. At one point in the story, Zatanna even shows up.
Number 5. Hulk 2099. Most of us comic book fans know about Spider-Man 2099. It's an incredible story and character, and it was crazy successful. Because of this, Marvel wanted to capitalize, like you do, and they made more 2099 versions of their characters. One such character was Hulk. This version of the Hulk is actually a guy named John Eisenhart. John didn't get his powers after being a scientist though. In the world of 2099, there was a cult known as the Knights of Banner, which, to sidetrack for a second, is a pretty sweet name. But anyways, John was a studio executive and the Knights of Banner wanted to create another Hulk while also making a movie about their cult's history. Yeah, it's weird, I don't know. Eisenhart joins the cult and gets caught in a gamma explosion, turning him into the Hulk. He was a bit different though. For starters, he is terrifying, but he can control his rage, meaning his strength didn't grow indefinitely. He also has claws that can slice through most materials, and his freaky elongated tongue is super strong, which is weird.
Number 4. WOLFPACK. Private Warren Griffith was a World War II soldier, wounded and hospitalized. He was diagnosed with lycanthropy, hallucinatory belief that he was turning into a wolf. This made him the perfect candidate to be turned into a real-life werewolf, and that's just what they did. Dr. Mazursky and his team of specialists at Project M artificially turned Warren into a werewolf. However, his transformations are independent of the phases of the moon. In fact, in his earliest mission, the changes just totally happened randomly. With time, Private Griffith gained a certain measure of control over the transformations, and he went on to serve in an experimental unit known as the Creature Commandos, alongside Vincent Velcro and Elliot Taylor. WOLFPACK is a pretty cool guy, and like any grizzled war veteran, he's got a storied past, having first appeared way back in 1980 in Weird War Tales number 93.
At number 3, we have SUPERDEMON, or ETRIGAN. This demonic version of the Man of Steel is known as one of the many Supermen of the Dark Multiverse. His origin begins when he's rocketed to an Earth of eternal twilight from a dark planet called Camelot. Luckily, this thing still fights against evil despite his monstrous appearance. At one point, he faces off against Vampire Ultraman, who I previously mentioned on the list, and he's eventually targeted by Prophecy, who wants to steal Etrigan's powers from him. But he's able to escape with the help of Justice Incarnate and goes off to try and free the other Supermen in the Dark Multiverse. This guy has basically every power that Superman has except augmented just a little bit, and often calling on fire as the element of choice. He's got fire breath, hellfire vision, and when he recites a magical verse, is able to unleash what is only described as a burst of hellfire upon his enemies.
Number 2. DEADMAN. Also known as Boston Brand, he is a ghost, literally a dead man walking. He was a circus acrobat, killed during a performance by a mysterious man known only as the Hook. He's got a hook for a hand. We'll talk about him another day. After being killed by Hook, Boston's spirit contacted the Hindu goddess Ramakrishna, or did she contact him? And she gave Boston the power to possess any living being. He uses this power to search for his killer and obtain justice. It's kind of like a mission that he has to do, actually. But he also goes on to alter circumstances in people's lives, benefiting the innocent and correcting wrongdoing. He eventually finds the truth about his own death, but rather than moving on, accepts his role as one who intervenes in the lives of mortals. He's a friendly ghost. He once helped Batman capture the Boomerang Killer, and also helped Batman and Superman take down a gang of smugglers once. Not bad for a dude who's literally already dead.
Number 1. Swamp Thing. When it comes to DC monsters, the most iconic one is definitely Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing initially believed it was the human Alec Holland, transformed into a monstrosity by the scientist's own biorestorative formula. In reality, Swamp Thing is something more than that. One of the elemental creatures created by the Green in response to it being attacked and acting as its defender against those who would threaten to cause it harm. Swamp Thing was created out of the consciousness of Alec Holland and does happen to share his memories and emotions, but is technically a new being built of Alec's consciousness and the swamp that he perished in.
Number 10. Claw. Claw, which is Hulk backwards, is basically what happens when the Hulk goes Hulk. He is another one of the evil personalities inside Bruce Banner's head. This version of Hulk has black skin with these rad glowing red scars. He has red demonic eyes, white hair, and big old talons. Claw emerges when Hulk reaches a sufficient level of rage, which is strange because regular Hulk has gotten way more powerful than this version of Hulk. The Claw personality is usually suppressed and has only shown up a few times, and not for very long I might add. He appeared first in the Axis storyline where heroes and villains had their morality switched. Hulk isn't exactly always a perfect dude. He will go on rampages and hurt people. He doesn't intend to. Over time, he has been able to hone his rampages into one target, or even not rampage like that at all. But since CLAYFACE is his opposite, he lets his rage hurt and maim everyone, putting even the villains on alert. He looks terrifyingly awesome and no one is safe from his rage. Number 9. Infernal Hulk. On Earth 11638, Bruce Banner was officially completely done with dealing with the unpredictability and rage of the Hulk. So, when Spider-Man introduced Bruce to Stephen Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, Banner became his apprentice, and after lots of training in the mystic arts, learned how to separate himself from the Hulk entity. He did this by sending it to hell and making it a demon. And this was a great solution, until the 616 Hulk, along with Deadpool and Spider-Man, came to Earth 11638. The Infernal Hulk managed to enter back into the realm of Earth, swapping places with 616 Banner's Hulk persona. Infernal Hulk went after the new Sorcerer Supreme, Bruce Banner, who was saved by both Deadpool and Spider-Man. So, how did they defeat this demon Hulk? Well, Sorcerer Bruce reversed the banishing spell that sent Hulk to hell, and just before Infernal Hulk could return to his original Bruce Banner body, Bruce had his neck snapped, killing him. But his spirit lived on in the astral plane, so it's all good. Number 8. Marvel Apes. Marvel Apes is, well, I mean, it's all the Marvel characters as apes. It's pretty self-explanatory actually. After Marvel Zombies, which I'm sure you're tired of hearing about, Marvel wanted another cool and weird alternate universe. So, we got this. I actually really like it, but I'm a sucker for alternate worlds. Like the regular Hulk, this ape Hulk was a big green monstrosity. He resembled a big gorilla and he was obviously furry. So that's like the main difference. He was still the strongest ape out there and extremely prone to smashing things whenever he got upset. This ape Hulk helped in the battle against the vampiric ape Avengers, and would later join a group dubbed the Prime 8, led by Nick Fury.
Hulk smash like and subscribe button. Ah, Hulk angry, but Hulk still love nerds. Ah, puny Adam, get on with video.
Number 7. Dracula. Back in the day, Dracula and his pal Frankenstein tended to be monsters you'd see tangle with heroes like the Phantom Stranger, Superman, and Batman in comics. Phantom Stranger, I feel like the Phantom Stranger always just shows up when something is too scary or too epic for anyone else to fix it. Over time, these monster characters have come to evolve somewhat in the world of DC. Well, less so in Dracula's case, but definitely more true in the case of Frankenstein. We've also seen versions of Dracula pop up in Elseworld stories like Batman's Red Rain. New Earth Dracula is also known as Count Romanoff and appears, like most iterations, to be based on Bram Stoker's Dracula, possessing many of the anticipated vampiric superpowers that you'd expect. While we have seen Dracula transform characters into vampires, making them join his Legion of the Undead, like Batman, he pretty much is always defeated by the heroes he goes up against. And while he did at one point even get to bite Superman, he learned that even Superman's blood was his enemy, being supercharged with solar energy, making it deadly to Dracula and basically killing him instantly.
Number 6. Null, Breaker of Worlds. When Kull Borsun, known as the Serpent, who was the villainous brother of Odin, sent down 7 magical hammers to Earth that represented his 7 followers, the hammer Null found its way to our hulking mass of green, transforming him into Null, Breaker of Worlds. Null went rampaging all over South America, bringing him into conflict with the Avengers, who he defeated, and eventually into a fight with Thor. When fighting Thor, Null teamed up with Angrir, Breaker of Souls, which was the Thing, who also got one of these hammers, who was defeated by Thor. But we all know who the strongest Avenger is, don't we? Null was just a bit too powerful for Thor, and instead of facing him one-on-one, the God of Thunder threw Hulk into orbit. He landed in Transylvania and started taking on Dracula and his minions. It was only after Inca, disguised as Betty Ross, showed up that Hulk threw the hammer aside and left to go be in solitude for being used yet again.
At number 5, we've got Bizarro. The first time the world sees Bizarro is in Superboy issue number 68 in October 1958. Bizarro is created when Superman is hit with a duplicate ray, and what is left is a gray-skinned, opposite version of Superman. Originally from Hertre, that's Earth backwards, yes, BIZARRO and other subsequent hero opposites are under the impression that good deeds are actually against the law. But in a newer interpretation of BIZARRO, he's not much of a threat to Superman, or anyone else for that matter. In the 2017 publication, he's known as sort of a goofy monstrosity that even Clark Kent isn't concerned about. The S on his chest is backwards, he has a little chupacabra as a pet named Colin, and he has horrendous grammar. If you tell him to go right, he'll go lefty ways, and if you ask him to stop, he'll go start. Basically, everyone around him sees him as a big handful and not much more, which is good, because he's still a powerful being from another planet.
Number 4. Hulk Venom. In What If number 4, what if the alien costume had possessed Spider-Man? Spider-Man is unable to get rid of the Venom symbiote suit, and he enlists aid from other heroes. Hulk just happens to be one of the first to show up, and the symbiote takes an instant liking to Hulk, which kinda makes me wonder why this hasn't happened before, honestly. It easily bonds to Hulk, overpowering his weak mind. So now you have all the powers of Hulk, plus the powers of Spider-Man, which is an interesting idea, truth be told.
Number 3, Frankenstein. Yep, DC has a Frankenstein too. Everyone gets a Frankenstein because public domain. In terms of this version, it is definitely, like many others, inspired by Mary Shelley's version of Frankenstein's monster. This Frankenstein is generally seen as a hero working alongside various super monster teams such as the Seven Soldiers and later on the agency known as SHEED, which stands for Superhuman Advanced Defense Executive. Like many other monster characters, Frankenstein can be a bit of an anti-hero, and the New 52 version of the character even killed his creator, though he was pretty justified because Dr. Frankenstein was quite unkind to his creation.
Number 2. Ultimate Hulk. Yes, the Ultimate Universe's version of Hulk is similar to the regular Hulk, but his personality? Nuh-uh, honey, it is whack. Bruce Banner, no matter where you find him, is an emotionally scarred dude. It's why he is the way he is. But the Ultimate Bruce Banner? He is selfish, self-absorbed, and just creepy. He was so desperate to be noticed and recognized, he willingly injected himself with an experimental version of a new super soldier formula, turning him into a monstrous version of the Hulk. This Hulk had little to no regard for human life and collateral damage. He even ate people, it was nuts. Ultimate Hulk would join up with Maker, Quicksilver, Kang, and a mind-controlled Human Torch to make up the team known as the Dark Ultimates. He would eventually align himself to be a bit better, but not by much. Number 1. Guilt Hulk. The Guilt Hulk is very similar to Devil Hulk, who represents his anger. Only this version of Hulk represents all the guilt and regret that the Hulk feels for all the horrible things he has inadvertently done while in his Hulk form, as well as the horrible things done to him as Bruce, like being shunned and feared and all the horrible things that were done to him by his father, Brian Banner, which is a huge reason behind Bruce having multiple personality disorder in the first place. Because this persona represents all these things, it's actually more powerful than the Devil Hulk persona. Guilt Hulk even took on the form of Bruce's father inside his head before becoming his true form, which is like a weird xenomorph looking Hulk. This Hulk is incredibly powerful, and it took the combined efforts of many of Bruce's other alter egos to hold and keep the other Guilt Hulk persona repressed deep in Bruce's mind.
At number 10, we have Vampire Ultraman. This is a double alternate of Superman because he's already Ultraman, who's considered to be a dark, evil version of the hero we all know and love, but after Batman turns Ultraman into a vampire, the character just delves that much deeper into the uncanny. As if a Superman alternative gone bad isn't enough to handle on its own, this guy has a thirst for blood and takes every chance he can get to recruit more superpowered beings into his Justice League of Vampires. This is a perfect example of how messy, but also really fun, things can get when the multiverse gets involved. I think it's fair to say that Earth 43 is not a place I'd like to visit anytime soon. Okay, at number 9 we have Parallax Superman. Parallax is an evil entity that lives in the Yellow Lantern's central power battery, and he is described as the living embodiment of fear. Basically, this insect-like creature is something of a parasite that takes over a number of hosts throughout various storylines in the comics. One of those times, he takes over Superman, and the combination of these two beings naturally creates a very evil and powerful monster. And what makes it even crazier is that the origin of Parallax Superman came about by Superman's own will. In defense of a group of helpless schoolchildren, classic, Superman decides to give in to the evil parasite and allow it to steal his essence. The only way Superman is able to yield Parallax from his body is by shedding all his fears and, using Thal Sinestro's ring, capturing and banishing Parallax forever. Phew. At number 8, we've got Vampire Superman from World's Finest, issue number 249. This version of the hero only appears for a short time in this one issue when Batman and Phantom Stranger are out at sea on a ship with a small crew. What appears to be going on is a Vampire Superman trying to turn the crewmates into fellow vampires themselves. So when Batman shines a light on Vampire Superman, sending him inside and into a coma. I don't really get why this happens, but basically Batman then attempts to drive a stake into Superman's heart, as one does if they're trying to kill a vampire. But Phantom Stranger stops him and turns the stake on the crewmates, who he reveals as being the real culprits. And for some strange, complicated reason, Superman then comes to and the crewmates are defeated and turned to coral? I don't know. This story was hard to follow, but for a time there, Superman fell victim to vampirism. And this is a scary moment because besides kryptonite, many people aren't aware that another of his weaknesses is magical enchantment, including vampirism and werewolfism. Is that the right term? Werewolfism?
Number 7, Maestro. Okay, imagine a version of the Hulk with twice his strength who retains the intelligence of Bruce Banner. Now, take that Hulk and make him a ruthless, tyrannical ruler, power-hungry and evil. And you get Maestro. Our Hulk first comes into contact with him when Rick Jones' daughter takes him into the future to fight his evil future self. But this Maestro easily overpowers the Hulk. In their very first fight, Maestro went to town on the Hulk and won by simply snapping Hulk's neck. That's it. Game over, man! Game over! He then waited for Hulk to heal, taunting him and villain monologuing at him the whole time about all the terrible things they go through as the Hulk, trying to get Hulk to join his side. The only way our Hulk could win was to bring Maestro back in time, to when they gained their abilities. The Gamma Bomb, which destroyed Maestro on an atomic scale. The sheer idea of Hulk becoming Maestro haunted Bruce and Hulk's thoughts for the rest of time.
At number 6, we've got Werewolf Superman. In Superman Volume 1, issue 422, we see a cover that makes us jump for a second, thinking that our beloved Clark Kent has been overtaken by a werewolf curse. But no, this isn't actually Superman turned werewolf. What it is, though, is a werewolf who takes Superman's costume off of him and wears it. He wears it around for a while. So, for a moment, we get a pretty crazy visual of a drooling, feral wolf man wearing the Superman suit. And we're also left with another visual of a totally naked Clark Kent lying defeated on the floor, but that's neither here nor there. What's crazy about this encounter is that this werewolf actually takes out Superman, knocking him down for long enough that he's actually able to steal the costume, forcing Superman to throw on a pretty sweet one-piece tracksuit and fly somewhere that he can properly change back into his Clark clothes. Later, he finds the culprits of the werewolf serum and then takes them all out naturally, without getting bitten himself, luckily.
ETRIGAN is a complex character, sometimes a villain, sometimes an ally. He is bonded to the once human Jason Blood. I say once human because Jason is now basically an immortal because of this bonding process. Merlin was the one who caused the two to become bonded, cursing both of them in essence, as Jason must now suffer through eternal life, forced to coexist with the demon, and ETRIGAN is tied inseparably to the once mortal, often more moral Jason Blood. In some continuities, Merlin is also related to ETRIGAN. Before being bonded to Jason, ETRIGAN was known for being the unstoppable son of Belial and the demon queen Ron Vadath. ETRIGAN is basically a prince of hell and is often known in the comics to speak exclusively in rhymes. He speaks in rhymes all the times, or at least often does so anyways, depending on the continuity that you're reading. This is considered to be a signifier of his hellish nobility, the ease in which he rhymes, because demons love a good, skillful rhyme, which I guess makes me a demon because I also like a nice rhyme.
At number 4 is the Superman Monster. This is a classic mashup story, basically marrying Superman and Frankenstein into one. A guy named Victor Luther comes across an alien spacecraft with the remains of a baby boy within it. When he realizes that the child was supposed to have arrived intact, he devises a plan to revive the being using the body parts of dead bodies found in a local graveyard. Using the advanced alien technology from the ship, Luthor creates a revival matrix and brings this monstrous version of Superman to life. But just like the classic story goes, the resulting creature doesn't quite turn out the way that Luthor had planned. He's a little grayer and more decayed than he'd like, so Luthor rejects him, and gets pretty badly injured in the process. The rest of the story is basically more parallels to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, so if you're interested in hearing about the story of Superman and Frankenstein mashed together, go check out the story. It's a one-off, so it probably wouldn't take very long to read.
Number 3. SKULK. The Amalgam comics in the 90s brought the fans one of the things they always wished they had. The heroes of the DC universe and the Marvel universe coming together. It saw the heroes facing each other, but it also, more interestingly, saw mashed together versions of characters. It's how we got the Batman-Wolverine hybrid Dark Claw, who is awesome. But it's also how we got SKULK. SKULK was the combination of Solomon Grundy and the Hulk. Bruce Banner was minding his own business, conducting gamma bond tests in the desert, the kind of thing you do on your perfect Sunday, and then Solomon Grundy appeared. Bruce tried to save the superhuman zombie from the explosion, but the bomb fused the two together, forming SKULK. SKULK was really just Solomon Grundy but with the Hulk's iconic purple pants, but I feel like the powers of these two characters fused together should be way more awesome than this.
At number 2 is Sand Superman. This entity is neither human or Kryptonian alien, but a mixture of energy from Quarm, sand from Earth, and some of Superman's powers that have been siphoned out of him. This creation is not quite a monster, but it is an uncanny recreation of the hero that honestly kinda creeps me out. Almost as much as a zombie or vampire version of Superman might. It doesn't have any soul inside of it, and for a time is set on draining even more of Superman's powers from him. Although it does come around and start to act more like Superman does, acting as a selfless superhero, fighting crime and all that. It still poses a threat to Superman, and the rest of the world for that matter, because due to this creature being composed of alternately charged atoms to Superman, and only gains power when Superman loses it, and vice versa, it's known that if Sand Superman comes in contact with real Superman, there would be a devastating explosion powerful enough to destroy the planet. So yeah, Sand Superman, not to be messed with. And kinda creepy, honestly. Okay, we're at number 1, and I have to put Blackest Night Superman here. 2 words, Zombie Superman. This version of Superman comes back from the dead and terrorizes Smallville with the added powers of a Black Lantern. In the comics, he's able to read people's fear and their power levels with what seems like a built-in HUD system. He's just a predator in all senses of the word. But when they face off, Zombie Superman is able to see more human emotions in Superman than he had in the people of Smallville. Fear, love, hope, will, and on top of it all, this zombie Superman uses Superman's own mother against him, putting her life in peril, and even Clark's dog, which is where I personally draw the line. Thank God he and Superboy put an end to this undead nightmare at the end of the series. The pup also gets some blows in, which is a great little touch.